Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for season 18, episode 7, and they are calling this a match made in scandal. I really don't want to keep that title because really what we need to keep the title and say uh a match made in what we really need to call it is a match made in Transylvania. Transylvania, because that is what Madison looked like. She looked like Dracula's wife. She really did. I don't know what's wrong with Madison. Something is seriously wrong with Madison. But if I don't call it a match made in Transylvania, I'm going to call it what Oprah show does is free counseling for everyone. You get free counseling. You get free counseling. You get free counseling. I announced last week or earlier this week on my Ready Love video that I'm going on vacation. So my Ready Love video this past weekend was my last Ready Love video for a couple of weeks. I will miss a couple of weeks. And so I'm announcing it here for Married at First Sight. I'm going on vacation a couple of weeks. So luckily, I don't even know how many episodes are left, but if there are many left, I'm going to miss them. I'll see if I can make them up when I get back because I definitely want to go back and redo that episode with, review the episode with MM and this new man she got showing up. Another reason why people need some free counseling. Listen. Before I go on my trip, I'm feeling generous. Everyone on season 18, here's Auntie Deborah's offer to you. My number is down in the description box. My email, my telephone number, my WhatsApp, whatever it is. Call me. Free counseling session. It's on the house. And it's not I don't be talking about people who I talk with. I talk to a lot of people, y'all, and all of them can attest. Well, they can't attest because they can't reveal themselves. I don't talk about nobody's business. I'm a vault. But I'm going to tell you, this episode or this season, there were a lot of people who need help. Need help. So like I said, we're going to rename the title from a match made in scandal to a match made in Transylvania. But don't fret. Don't worry. It all comes with a free counseling session. Because everybody need to call me on this show. Juan Show, I know you think you got your free counseling session from Carla. That's what you used her for, because that's literally what you did. You were so unprepared for marriage. Juan Show, you're even unprepared for a relationship, let alone marriage. And I know Carla tried to help you out a little bit with her emotional intelligence, but it's not going to be enough. You need a lot more work. Carla, girl, you got a gift. You need to make some money off that. Everybody run around talking about you broke, you poor. But Carla is the most gifted one on this show. She just ain't monetized it yet. Let's be real. Carla, you the most gifted one on this show. You just haven't monetized it yet. And you might need to sit down and figure out how to monetize your gift because you read everybody on this show correctly. And you handle yourself with dignity. I got some few tips for you too, Carla. You using your gift in the wrong way. I want you to be a little bit more generous with it. And like I said, you need to turn it into a business, Carla. You really ought to. David and Madison. David, I've been trying to tell you what you're looking for, what you're seeking out here. You need some help to heal those old wounds of yours that make you out here every other sentence talking about she made me feel good. She made me feel good. She gave me a compliments. If that's all you running around like you a dog running around looking for some kibbles and bits, you need some help. And let me tell you, if I hear people ask David one more time, when did this love affair start? And he said it started in the gym. I didn't say where it started, David. I asked you when it started. Which gym? The gym in Mexico or the gym here in Chicago? I say it's the gym in Mexico. No one ever called David out on that. Every time they asked him, when did this start? He didn't say when it started. He said where it started, at the gym. Well, you was going to the gym on day one in Mexico. Is that where it started? Let's be honest. And let me tell you something. When every time someone tells you what you do wrong, you use an excuse of what another person did, you need some counseling. So like I said, David, a free counseling session for you. Madison, girl, I don't really want to counsel you, but I'm willing to take on a challenge. So Madison, you could call me. Alan, you could definitely call me because I don't want you to get put in a trick bag again. Alan, you should have seen some of these signs. You should have seen some of these signs. No matter how dirty they did you, you should have seen some of these signs. And I want to know why you didn't see them. And what I need to do is I need to talk to you to see why you didn't see them, so we can take them blinders off, so you can go out in the world and you can start seeing people for who they are and not get taken by them. I don't want you to lose your innocence. I don't want you to lose the essence of yourself, but I need you to be a little bit more on top of it, Alan. So you're going to need to call me. Girl, you need to call me too. Because I know everybody's giving you somewhat of a pass because you were paired with a crazy man, EKG. But girl, you got some issues. And let me tell you, this episode, when you guys were at that little after party, after everything was said and done, and you brought that shit up again with EKG and did what you did, girl, that really started to make me believe there is some truth to what Ike has said. It may not all be true because we know he's a liar. I know he exaggerated. I know he's got his own issues. But let me tell you what happened to you, You actually probably the person on this show that probably didn't get to learn the most because you were paired with such a horrible person. People are really not probably wanting to come at you too much because they want to protect you because of EKG. But there's a thing called tough love, and I'm going to tell you the tough love I'm going to give you before I go on vacation. And is that, girl, you got some issues. Some of the stuff Ike has been saying about you, I believe some of it's true. You don't know how to let shit go. And I don't think you have to be healed from what Ike did to you, but I don't think you should have brought it up. And what I want to know is why you can't let stuff go. And Ike called it right. He said it looked like a political campaign to show I did everything I can do. That's what I agree to. I agree with Ike. Can you believe I agree with Ike? Because it goes back to what I said about MM always wants to be perfect. She always wants to win. And I'm going to tell you right now, this little engagement you got popping up next week, less than, I don't know, a month or so after it's filmed, it's given, I lost over here, so now let me go ahead and retake the test so I can win. It's almost like a friend you had and they failed the test. And he said, girl, did you got an F on the test? Yeah, my marriage failed. I got an F, but don't worry about it, girl. I'm retaking the test real quick and I'm going to get an A. Really? How can you take the test so fast? I'm going to take this retest. That's what it's given, What it's given me is it really never was about Ike. It was about winning, kind of like what he was talking about. It was about succeeding at a goal you had, which was to be married. Nothing's wrong with that goal. But then it became succeeding at all costs, no matter what it takes. So I don't want to diminish your love for your new husband or your new fiance or whatever else. But I'm telling you right now, I see some things going on with you. A lot of things. Now, I'm not going to just say a few things. It's a lot of things that you're going to need some help with because you're going to need to not bring this into this new marriage you got with this man. If you bring this attitude, this little part of you, and I'm going to go back to Dr. Pia. And Dr. Pia, I gave her a hard time last week. I felt she was giving a hard time to She was checking her on her attitude a little bit. And I felt like, dang, Dr. Pia, give the floor. But this is what I think, y'all. I think got a good edit. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the producers protected because we are all trying to protect I think the producers knew that Ike was a whole fool. And what they decided to do was, we're not going to give a bad edit at all because Ike is such a whole fool. And I think they spared us of some things of But there's some moments they couldn't spare us. And this episode, her going off at the very end, they didn't spare us and we got to see it. And let me tell you, I was cringing. I really was trying to tell to stop, girl, stop. And when she was going on and on, it just got worse and worse and worse. So yeah, you call me, like I said, it's anonymous. I'm not going to tell nobody I'm talking to you. Not at all. The other person I'm going to tell you is going to be anonymous. Camille, you need to call me. Camille. Girl, one way I want to hug you and another way I want to slap you. First I want to hug you, then I want to slap you. Black girl magic. You into the black power, Camille. Black girl magic. But right now, Camille, let me tell you something. When you sat on here today and you told Thomas that in order for you to be vulnerable, he had to give you more assurances. I said, Camille, are you listening to yourself? Girl, go Google the word vulnerability, what vulnerable means. Vulnerable means when people are asking you to show vulnerability, they're asking you to do things even when you're afraid or feel threatened. That's what vulnerable means. I'm vulnerable. You could harm me. You could threaten me. What it means is I'm going to step out on faith. What it means is I'm going to share even though I'm not completely safe. And that allows my vulnerability to come out, which means sometimes I may cry. Vulnerability means showing your true emotions, your fear, everything, your sadness, your hurt, your pain. But what Camille, I don't think Camille understands the definition of vulnerability, because every time you hear her talk, she tells Thomas, I need you to do these things so I can be more vulnerable. Well, Camille, actually what you're asking Thomas to do is give you more assurances so you feel safe, which means, Camille, you actually never have to be vulnerable because you don't really have no real threat of fear. You don't have no real threat of harm. Okay, I get the point about you want Thomas to step up more. You want Thomas to make more decisions so you don't feel like you have to make all the decisions. That part I'm going to agree with you on. That part. But Camille, I've said it over and over again, girl. You got a lot of things about your personality that when you run them down, you always say they're going to come after somebody does something. Well, no, that's not how it works, Camille. Camille says she has swag. We ain't seen it. Camille says she's such a fancy dresser. She's not. She always wears a two-piece animals. Camille tells us she's a sex vixen, but she's not. She's gonna be one after the marriage. Then now in this episode, Thomas is asking her to be more vulnerable. He said he ain't never even seen her cry. She said, well, I'm gonna give you that all after you give me all this. Camille, that you are the opposite of vulnerable. And the only way you're going to get to a state of vulnerability, Camille, is for you to even understand what it is. So I'm going to help you with that. Give me a call, because you don't actually even know what vulnerability is, because what you're doing is you're asking Thomas to do things so you can be vulnerable. In actuality, vulnerability is the opposite. I keep telling you guys that vulnerability, women, I keep telling women, vulnerability ushers in the protectiveness of men. Women keep thinking, oh, you show being protective all the time, and then all of a sudden, what, I'm going to be vulnerable? No, your vulnerability is what makes men want to protect you, because that's what they want to do. But when you are always tough and strong and taking care of everything, they like, well, shoot, just let you sit back and do everything. Camille is waiting for Thomas to step up. You know when Thomas will step up? When you step down. There can't be two people on the podium. So what Camille keeps saying is, when you step up, Thomas, I'll step down. No, Camille, you step down now. You step down. Even in the last part where they had to choose who was going to say yes. You see what Camille did to Thomas? I'm going to get into it. I'm getting too far into it. You see that little trick she played on him to make him scared, make him be vulnerable. You see how he was vulnerable because he went first, and Camille got to be up on the throne, and what she did to him to not even make him feel safe, but yet she wants to feel safe. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Camille, do you see what you did? You think it's all funny and laughs and games how Thomas can be vulnerable first, but what you want to do is you want to feel safe so you can be vulnerable. Camille, do you see what you're doing? And I know you don't see it, girl. That's why you need to call me. That's why you need to call me. And don't call me. Ike, don't call me. I know when I'm out of my league, and I'm going to tell you something, Ike, you are out of my league. You are out of my league, Ike. You need to go see like a real professional, real professional with a license behind their name, some letters and some dots behind their name. That's where you need to go, Ike. Don't call me, because you're not going to get your money's worth. Everybody else, down in the chat, check it out, book an appointment. But that's my intro. That was a long intro. That's my intro. Go ahead. I'm going to play my little intro music. Please, y'all, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. And then we're going to come back and we're going to really get into this. So first up, we're going to talk about Carla and Juan show. We got Juan over here calling his mom and daddy, talking about me and Carla, we getting along fine. We ain't got no problems, but we just don't have a romantic connection. That is your problem. The fact that you don't have a romantic relationship and you don't really have no real good reasons for it, that is the problem. He said, we got a good friendship. She's easy to live with. We don't argue. We don't fuss. We don't fight. It's real easy, but we don't have a romantic connection. And then that father says, well, do what your brain tells you to do. There it is. You want to know where Juan's influence is with his daddy. Do what your brain tells you to do. Well, actually, you need to have a little bit more balance between your brain and your heart, Juan. You don't want to be all brain, but you also don't want to be all heart. You need to have a nice blend. And right now, Juan is out of balance. Out of balance. Way too much brain, too little heart. He doesn't really know his true feelings. And one of the reasons why Juan doesn't know his true feelings is because he doesn't want to talk about them. He doesn't even want to let anyone in to help him sift through his problems. Juan is trying to solve his own problems and he can't. He needs help. Juan needs help. Carla's sitting there talking to her friends, talking about, she's so busy tiptoeing in this relationship because Juan don't want to be vulnerable. She goes, I'm really just looking for Juan to say something like, I'm scared. I had walls up. I find you attractive. Anything she needs. She goes, anything. Any of that would be a good gesture for Juan to make me know that he is a man with a heart. Right now, Juan is like from the Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man. It wasn't the Tin Man running around looking for a heart, but he really had one. And they had to say to him, I know you're looking for a heart, Tin Man. Nipsey Russell. That's who played it back in the, I'm talking about the Black Wizard of Oz, the Wiz. I don't even know who played it in the real Wizard of Oz. I'm talking about the Wiz. Okay. He was running around talking about he needed a heart. That's Juan. Juan is the Tin Man. There is a heart in there. There is a heart, Juan. We see it. Everybody, that's what people see who like you. They see it in you. But the problem is hid behind all this tin and all this metal. And really, you need to tap into it. Just like on the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy finally got the Tin Man to realize is you already have a heart. You don't need to make it to, wherever we going. You already have a heart. You just have to tap into it. And Juan has spent so much time protecting his heart, protecting himself from things that have gone wrong in his life, that he's buried his heart deep down below the surface. I know a lot of you were impressed last week with Juan's speech to David, giving David all this good advice about, man, the way you start your relationship, you're not going to end it. I wasn't. And let me tell you why I wasn't impressed. It wasn't that I wasn't impressed because of the words, because I thought the words were true. I think all the words that Juan said to David last week about David's behavior, about their relationship starting on a bad foot, all that, I think it was all true. I had no problem with Juan's words. But let me tell you what I had a problem with. I had a problem with the messenger. And I had a problem with the most important part, which is the point I'm getting to, is the timing. You see, what bothered me about Juan's speech to David is what bothers me about him, period, is that Juan doesn't live in the moment. He doesn't know how to live in the moment. Juan keeps saying he's this happy-go-lucky guy, and he loves, he thought Carla was beautiful and all these other kind of things. But what Juan really doesn't like to do is sit in a moment, even when that moment is painful. And the problem with not sitting in a moment when it's painful is you don't learn your lessons because you're too busy trying to move past it too fast. And what I didn't like about the information and the advice he was giving David is he was already talking to David about the future. What are you going to do in the future? No, Juan. We can't be moving into the future yet because we still addressing the current behavior. You see, Juan was way down the road trying to forget about the current behavior, but draft some solution down the line to be a better person. Now, I'm not saying that's where you need to go eventually. That's absolutely where you need to go eventually. But the problem with Juan, which is the problem in his own life, is he doesn't uproot his problems in the now. He wants to look over them. He wants to throw dirt over them. But the problem is what I'm telling you about Juan. Juan, you're not solving your problems. All your pain is hidden inside because when you encounter a situation, you know what you do? You throw dirt over it. You try to bury it as if it's not there. But let me tell you, it's there. It's what happened in Juan's and Carla's relationship this whole 8 weeks. People want to talk about Juan's not attracted to Carla. That's not true. Okay, Juan said on here this time, he said, well, kind of what it is that I wasn't attracted to the sage and the spirituality. Well, Carla said, well, why didn't you bring that up a long time ago? It's been 8 weeks. Why didn't you bring it up? Carla's saying, did I throw it in your face? How many times did I even go and do that with you? Carla's saying, if you had brought it up, I could have toned that down. I wouldn't have pushed on you something I knew you didn't really want. Carla's saying, your whole family's into this stuff. How would I have known? You see, but Juan, what he does is he covers it up with dirt and mud and a whole lot of outside music and rah-rah and like he's so happy, but underneath there's sadness, there's stuff that hasn't even been taken care of. And this is why Juan cannot be successful in a relationship, because Juan has not uprooted all that stuff. Y'all ever try to get rid of some weeds? Y'all ever try to get rid of some weeds and all you do is go over there and spray some weed killer on it, thinking it's going to really kill the root. And then next thing you know, some rain comes and that doggone weed is right back where it started from, because you didn't really get down to the root. You killed maybe the top part of it. You put some mulch over it, thinking that weed wasn't going to grow through that mulch. It grew right through that mulch. Spring is coming. Spring is coming. And that's what I didn't like about Juan's advice to Davis. It wasn't the words. It was the fact that it was the same old thing from Juan. Juan was teaching David to do what he does, and I didn't like that. Juan was teaching David to skip over your behavior right now, skip over what happened, and let's just jump to the future and start talking about the future. Nah, because what Carla did was she stood right there in the mess with Madison, says, I don't like your behavior. This is what you did. This was this was dirty. This was nasty. This was grimy. We don't need to move from this spot until you get how horrible what you did is now. We don't need to be looking down to the future yet. Too soon, too fast. Juan was looking to the future less than 24 hours after the whole shit thing went down in the house. How can we be talking about the future and we ain't even dealt with the present and the now? Nah. Juan needs some help. He needs a lot of help. Basically, Juan said on this show and thanked Carla for being his therapist. Thank you for being patient with me. I think I can grow from here. He used Carla. He need to send Carla a check. Like I said, Carla, you need to monetize what you got, because Juan need to send you a check because he used you for free. Well, I don't know, Carla. Maybe it could be free advertisement for you, because that's what Juan did. Now, Juan, you need to spend some real money and go get you pay someone to really help you. Pay someone who's going to tell you the truth and not coddle you, and someone who's going to tell you what you really need to hear so you can go on and be a better person. Like I said, I can do it for you. Give me a call. I typically talk to women. But you know what? I can make an exception for you. Carla said, I wasn't going to try to force you to be someone you aren't. I saw who you were, Juan. I saw you weren't vulnerable. I saw that you didn't want to open up. I saw you had all kind of wounds and hurt. And what Carla was saying is, yeah, I fell back. I didn't want to spend no energy trying to heal you because I don't want to be your therapist. What Carla was saying was she saw all the work that Juan needed, but what Carla was saying is, I don't want to do it for you. I don't want to be the woman that has to try to get you to be the man that I know maybe you could be, but I don't want to do the work to get you there. Because right now, the work that Juan needs to do, he's resistant to it. You see, that in order to heal and get better, you actually have to be open to it. And what Carla sensed in Juan was, I know what kind of work he needs, but he's not even open to it. And the reason why he's not open to it was because everything that Carla did to get to where she is, Juan put it down. He put it down. He said, all this spirituality that you have is too much for me. It wasn't necessarily believing in the tarot readers or the psychics. That wasn't what was bothering Juan. What was bothering Juan is that he doesn't like to go deep. He doesn't believe in going deep. It's beyond, I don't like tarot cards and psychics. What he's saying is, I don't really want to go deep. Juan on here talked about so much how Carla is his best friend. They become best friends. And when Juan left the house, the apartment, to go sleep at his house for the last night, he didn't even give Carla a hug. So Juan, you want to tell me you have a best friend that you say is your best friend, and you don't even give her a hug? I hug my best friend all the time. Where does it written, Juan, that you have to be in love with someone to give them a hug? You see, this is what I'm telling you. Juan makes up excuses for his lack of vulnerability, his lack of opening himself up to people, period. It's a problem, and I hope he sees it. I didn't even like when Juan said that Carla was passive aggressive. I didn't like it. You know why I didn't like it? Because what that said to me was, what Juan says is, when he knows he messes up, when Juan knows he's in his selfish state, because that's what Juan is. I said it from the very beginning, because Juan's only focus is protecting himself. That's what makes him selfish. When I talk about hiding your pain, when hiding your pain, hiding your emotions become the very thing that you're committed to, what that means is you become selfish when you interact with others. Juan doesn't look at himself as selfish because he doesn't look at it. He's maliciously doing it to Carla, but that's the effect of it. When your whole intent and focus is to protect yourself at all costs, what that means is you're never protecting anyone else, which makes you look selfish. And Juan doesn't get that. You see, so then what he calls Carla is passive aggressive, because what he's saying is, hey, Carla, you see me over here struggling, right? Remember when he lost something or something on the honeymoon? You see me over here struggling. You see I'm over here needing help. You see the toilet's dirty. You see that I'm over here working to do this. And what he's saying is, because I don't give you what you want, Carla, you decide you're not going to give me what I want, which is for you to do everything I want you to do. So you're passive aggressive. That's not passive aggressive. That's not passive aggressive. That's boundaries. That's saying, listen, I'm not going to continue to pour into a relationship in which I'm not getting anything out of it. And that's what Juan wanted. Juan wanted a relationship in which a woman pours into him, gives him everything he wants, like Carla said, does what he wants to do, right? Without any questions, any strings attached. And when she doesn't do what he wants her to do, he calls her passive aggressive. That's not passive aggressive. That's a person drawing boundaries. That's a person saying, I'm not going to let you use me to fill you up, but yet you're doing nothing to fill me up. There's a difference. There's a big, big difference. See, Juan thinks if I don't do something for you, I'm doing it out of anger, or I'm trying to offer some type of form of neglect. You see, that's what makes it passive aggressive, right? But me deciding not to do something because, well, I think I've done enough, that's not me trying to inflict pain on you. I'm not angry. I'm just saying, hey, there's a pot here. I put in 50%. I'm asking you to put in 50%. You don't put in 50%. So I'm just not going to put in anything more in it. I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm not angry. I'm just saying that's my boundary. You see, people can have boundaries and not be angry. They can do both. So Juan want to run around. He don't even want to hug Carla. He don't want to kiss Carla. He don't want to touch Carla. But when Carla tells him, I don't want to clean the toilet up after you, she's being passive aggressive. Juan, get the hell out of here. Like I said, get the hell out of here and call me and we could talk about it. We could talk about it. Carla tells us this is the first emotionally healthy relationship she's been in, and that was shocking to me. But when I think about Carla and I think about her emotional intelligence, I can see why she could have been in unhealthy relationships. Because probably what happened were there were people who she helped with her emotional intelligence and they weren't worthy of being helped. And this is where Carla's going to have to learn how to use her superpower. You see, it's almost like a person being rich with money. Imagine you have a lot of money. People will take advantage of you. They will use you for your money. They will think you should pay for their way to places because you got a lot of money. And what could happen to Carla, a person with a lot of emotional intelligence, is that people could believe that in every situation, you should use your emotional intelligence and I don't have to use none of mine. You see, that's what happened with Juan. Juan felt Carla was stingy because he recognized that Carla had way more, double emotional intelligence than him. And what he was asking Carla was to use all her emotional intelligence in the relationship and he wouldn't have to use any. He wanted Carla to do all the work, right? And that's why Carla had to draw a boundary, because Carla was saying, I'm not going to do all the work. Emotional intelligence is something everyone has a responsibility to do. And Juan didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. So I could see why Carla's been in some relationships that have been lopsided in terms of emotional intelligence. And what Carla just has to get better at is she has to just get better at balancing her talent, her emotional relationship, bringing some of it to the relationship. Because Carla, I got to tell you, girl, you're far ahead than most people. So more than likely, Carla, you will have to bring in some of it a bit more than other people because you just have so much more of it. I hate to tell you, girl. I know you don't want to hear it, but you will have to. But you will have to know, find that balance between not carrying the load for other people, but also knowing that you have a gift, you have a talent. And so, therefore, you might be required to do sometimes a little bit more in some situations to help get you and your partner past it, but also not creating a dependent, I'm making a man dependent on your emotional intelligence to the fact that it becomes toxic because you're the only one doing the emotional work and he's not. So, like I said, Carla, you can call me too. You can call me too, girl. Like I said, a free session for everybody. It's on the house and it's anonymous. But in the end, they said no to each other. They both said no. Carla had me afraid there for a minute. I was like, Carla, please don't say yes to this man. But in the end, she said no. And she said, a ciao, ciao, Wancho, ciao, ciao. And there I stood there. I said, bravo, Carla. Bravo. Juan, go pay for your services somewhere else, like I said. And now we're going to move on to Thomas and Camille on their last date before decision day. And they're out at a nice little restaurant having a romantic dinner with a charcuterie board and their flight, and they're having, a tasting. Looking good, looking good. Camille looked good. She wasn't in a two-piece, but she was in a one-piece. She definitely don't put together no ensemble. You ever see those TikTok videos? They say the difference between, um, what's it, putting on an outfit, but styling an outfit. Camille's in a category where you just put it on, but you don't style it. That's where Camille is. But she looked pretty. Um, and they're sitting there and they're talking about their feelings on decision day. And Thomas is talking about he's got to bring in some logic to this and some longevity. And Camille says, well, what are we doing on move out day? And, he said, well, I would love for you to move in with me on decision day, but my space is too small. And so I really don't have time for that. And Camille says, well, I need you to have plans so that I can feel prioritized and important enough for you to even make some plans. Camille, let me tell you, do I understand what you're saying about Thomas, that you want Thomas to make more plans, to be more concrete, to do more planning? I understand it. I understand you, girl. I hear you. So I want to tell you what you do to thwart this. I just talked about vulnerability. Vulnerability is doing something even when you're scared and it's putting yourself out here. And what I can say about Thomas is Thomas has been vulnerable with you. He's opened up with you. So he's actually practiced vulnerability. But the problem with you, Camille, is that you met his vulnerability with actually trying to instill in him insecurity. That's a problem. When a person is being vulnerable, what the other partner does not need to do is to take their vulnerability and try to push them back into a fear mode. To get to be vulnerable, you got to fight through your fear. So if a person has fought through their fear to become vulnerable with you, which is what Thomas did, then you come along and you say things or you do things to push them back from that vulnerable spot back into fear. That's wrong. And that's what you do, Camille. Because what I told you before, Camille is trying to act as if the reason she's not vulnerable is because something Thomas hasn't done. No, Thomas has never pushed you into a fear mode. He has never done that. The problem is, Camille, you don't know how to be vulnerable. So you want Thomas to give you all the assurances in the world, make it so nice and comfortable for you so you have zero risk. And then you say you're going to be this new person. That's not vulnerable. And as we've seen, Camille, anytime Thomas has stepped up and given you what you asked for, he sat down there and ate your tacos all season long. You didn't even slob the knob. Every time Thomas did what you told him to do, you never delivered on your end. You always kept raising the bar. You always kept moving the goalpost, right? Oh, I'll cry when this happens. I'll feel vulnerable when this happens. I'll be more soft when this happens. Camille. No, girl, no. No, girl, no. I was kind of happy that Thomas didn't give Camille no concrete plans because honestly, what I really wanted was I wanted the producers to make her go first to say, did she want to stay married or not? Because guess what she would have to do? Be vulnerable. She would have had to step out on a limb. But it looks like they changed the way they do it. Before they would ask a specific person, now decision day has come, Camille, do you want to stay married or not? And then it would make Camille have to go first. They would make Camille go first. You see? Um, but in this new format, they just put the question out there, do you guys want to stay married? And then anyone can speak up. Well, I already knew Camille wasn't going to speak up first. You know why? Because she ain't vulnerable. There was no way Camille was going to be vulnerable in that moment to say yes when she didn't know what homeboy Thomas was going to say. So once again, perfect example. Thomas went out on the ledge and went vulnerable first. Told her, I want to stay married to you. I love you. He even told her, I love you at the very end. Said all these sweet things about her. And what did Camille do with that vulnerability? You know what she did? She played a trick on him. She played a trick on him. She played a trick on the producers, everyone. And what she did was, for a moment, Thomas, when you're feeling vulnerable and you're sitting here waiting for me to say yes, instead of me comforting your vulnerability and actually encouraging it and making you realize you can always be vulnerable with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trick you, play a trick on you, and make you feel scared as if I'm going to tell you no. Something's wrong, Camille. Like I said, call me, girl. Free session, call me. There is a problem when a person tells you I have problem being vulnerable, and when that person shows up vulnerable to you, you decide you're going to play a prank on them. Because that's what you did, Camille. You played a prank on Thomas when you know that's one of the spots he's trying to work on. And it goes back to what I'm saying. Why do you play a prank on him? Because, Camille, you do like to be the superior one. In one way, Camille, you talk about you don't want to be the strong one, you don't want to be the leader, but you really do. Because anytime Thomas shows you vulnerability, you stand on top of him. You don't get up underneath him and lift him up. You stand on top of him. You lord over him. You come in and you try to make him feel even weaker than he already felt when he was in his vulnerable spot. I'm going to tell you something, Camille. If you keep on doing that, not just Thomas, any person, and not just any man, any person, you keep meeting a person's vulnerability with standing over them and making them feel even worse in their vulnerability, even for a moment, you will stop seeing their vulnerability. I guarantee you, Camille, you will stop seeing it. You somehow think, Camille, that this encourages vulnerability. No, girl. It makes a tortoise go back into his shell. And you need to learn this before you even have your children, Camille, because I see this being a problem with your children. I see it being a problem. Camille, this little part that you have where you think you got to be tough on people to get the sort of behavior you want, it's the wrong approach. Maybe it was the approach you had in sports. That's why I tell people, be careful about putting your daughters in sports, because what sports tries to do is they try to teach you this tough mindset. They try to break people down, right? A lot of sports and athletics, a lot of times they're run by men, and they kind of have this, like the army. People need to tear you down to build you back up. That's kind of what they do a lot of times in athletes. They want to bring out the grit in an athlete. And that's what Camille uses in her relationship. What she decides to do is, if I pound you enough, I'm going to make you tough. And then by making you tough, you're going to stand up. No, Camille, that doesn't work in relationships, personal relationships. That might have worked in sports when you was playing basketball, where you had a coach telling you, girl, you got to be tougher. You got to be tougher. Remember her daddy told her, you got to be tougher? Remember her daddy said to us, the reason why Camille wasn't as successful in basketball because she wasn't tough enough. And now you got Camille running around here trying to make her man tough by pounding on him, and thinking that if I pound on him, it's going to make him tougher and then he'll stand up. No, Camille, actually what that's going to do is going to make him run away. When Camille said, I'm scared that Thomas will do to me what he did to that other woman that he was with for 9 years and walked away, he walked away from me. Yeah, Camille, you should be scared. You should absolutely be afraid. But let me tell you something, girl. It doesn't have to end that way. But the only way it's not going to end that way, Camille, is you have to be different now. You have to be different now, Camille. But if you keep doing what you're doing now, he will be gone in 9 years or less. Because ain't nobody gonna put up with this shit, Camille. This tactic that you have, no one's gonna put up with it. When I show up at your door with my vulnerability and you step on my neck and you play pranks on me and you try to make me feel even worse when I'm coming to you in a weakened state, I guarantee you, Camille, you will see less and less of my vulnerability. You will see less and less. You won't see more of it. And I will feel less and less the need to protect you, because what I will feel like, Camille, is that when I showed up to your doorstep vulnerable, you didn't protect me. So why the hell should I protect you? You need to think about this, Camille. I'm telling you, you need to think about it. And then I'm going to get to my other Black Girl Magic MM. Black Girl Magic MM. Girl, what's going on with you? You know what it's given? I'm going to miss this next episode because I'm going to be on vacation, y'all. I'm going to miss this new episode. But what it's given is, like I told you in my intro, I lost the first quarter. Okay, I can't say she lost the game. I lost the first quarter, but I'm gonna win this game. And M somehow or another is now engaged. I don't know who this guy is. I need to find out if this is a guy from her past that she already knew. Is this some random guy she met? All of a sudden she getting engaged in 30 days? Or is this a random guy that before, well, why did you even show up here if you had a random guy who was willing to marry you in 30 days? Is it because you didn't want to marry him because he wasn't good enough for you at the time? And now all of a sudden you're marrying him just so you can look like you winning? Or is this a situation where he didn't want to marry you and maybe you've grown up and seen some things and seen the light and now you guys are back together? I don't know what it is. I would have to watch it and see. But I'm telling you, it's odd. It's very, very odd. And I'm going to say no matter who the man is, MM, you need some work. Let me tell you something. When everybody was going around and saying whether or not they going to say yes or not, you could have just kept it there, MM. But the fact that you decided to dig in one more time on EKG and how you were sitting there talking about, let me finish, let me talk. Girl, you don't talked enough. I was with Ike. You know what? When Ike said, no, I don't have to sit here and listen to you no more, I was with Ike. I can't believe I was with Ike, but I was with Ike. I would have told your ass to shut the hell up too. I would have told you, I said, girl, I don't listen enough to you. I get it. I get it. You've spoken your piece more than once, MM. You've had the floor. So this tells me that you got a good at it. You got a good at it. I'm telling you, there were a lot more of these moments that we saw in this right now through this whole season. And these producers cut it out. They cut it out. They didn't want to show no more. They didn't want to show. I'm telling you, I know exactly what went on. They didn't want a Black woman on here being portrayed as an angry Black woman because people are tired of seeing it in the reality TV shows. And they didn't want to get any backlash because a lot of the audience of Married at First Sight are people of color. And they didn't want to say, we don't want to show MM as an angry Black woman because EKG is such trash. And I'm not going to say that MM is an angry Black woman. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say about MM is there is a part about you, MM, that is really like a lot of it is pit bullish. Can I say that? It's pit bullish, and you don't know how to let go of the neck. Let's just say that. I don't want to call you an angry Black woman because honestly, your feelings are real. Your feelings are justified. That's why I don't want to just say it's frivolous. Like, I get your emotions. I get your feelings. But it goes back to what I said before. MM doesn't know how to express her feelings in a more healthy way. It's not your feelings that are the problem, MM. It's the way you express them. I said it before. Your problem is not with what you feel. Your problem is the way you express it. And you need to learn a better way to express your emotions and your feelings, because right now, the tactic that you use is pit bullish. You grab onto a person's neck and you don't let go, because I'm telling you right now, in this episode, when y'all was at that little rendezvous dinner, I was like, let the neck go, MM. I was like, you was a dog on a leash, and I was trying to pull at your leash saying, drop it, drop it. Y'all ever have a dog and you're like, drop it, Zeus, drop it. That's how I felt with you, MM. Drop it. Drop Ike's neck out your mouth because he's dead in the water. He's dead. You don't need to pile on like this. It's over with. It's done. The job has been done. Like I said, MM always wants to win, but she don't want to just win. She wants to kill it. MM just doesn't want to do well. She wants to exceed beyond capacity. Even in the takedown of EKG, she wasn't comfortable with her win because in the end, MM was on the winning side. We were all on her side. But instead of her taking that part and walking away with it, MM said, nah, I got to drill this home even longer, even more. And what that did, MM, was it exposed you. You should have took your winnings and left. But the fact that you stayed in this ring with Ike and you kept clamping down on that neck, it really exposed you. And I feel like you had the least opportunity to learn on this show because you probably didn't get a lot of constructive feedback. As I look back at Dr. Pia, I think Dr. Pia was trying to give MM constructive feedback. I think the reason why Dr. Pia looked like she was so hard on MM was because we didn't see, I think they had cut out the parts of MM's conversation that Dr. Pia saw that Dr. Pia was reacting to, right? We saw a little bit of it, so we thought Dr. Pia's reaction was over the top, but I'm starting to believe that there was a lot more of this behavior from MM, and so maybe Dr. Pia's reaction was more justified than I originally gave her credit to. And also, I want to say that we originally gave Ike credit to. Ike can't be excused. Ike would have been here no matter what woman was here. Let's just put it that way. Ike's issues have nothing to do with MM. They really don't. But the problem is the two of them triggered the worst of each other, right? MM's personality triggered the worst of Ike, and Ike's personality triggered the worst of MM. And I know on that last episode, MM told Ike, I wish the worst for you. I wish you nothing but the worst. That even there, right there, told you there's a part down in MM that, like I said, likes to seek and destroy. She don't mind doing it. And I think she can be a nice person, but I think there's another part of her that can destroy. It can destroy. And that's the part, MM, that if you called me, I would work on that because I would want to know, where does that come from? I know you want to be successful. I know you want to win, but where is that other part of you that comes that you're willing to fight to the death and you don't want to let a neck go? Why don't you want to let the neck go, MM? Drop it. Drop it, Zeus. Drop it. And now we move on to Michelle and Alan. Not much on Alan. I thought Alan's disposition during the show was appropriate. He didn't want to shake nobody's hand. I'm good with that. You're not there yet. It hasn't been enough time. I'm good with that. But he sat there composed. I'm good with that. He's still processing his emotions. I'm good with that. I don't have nothing to, I'm not going to come over there and yell and scream at you and do all that, but I ain't got to like you. I'm good with that, Alan. But Michelle, on the other hand, in her delusional state, really believes that she is completely vindicated on about who she is based on the fact of what David and Madison did. Michelle, you need some therapy too, because you need to figure out why you're such a mean girl. I know Michelle doesn't think she's a mean girl, but she is. And what Michelle is using in this season is she's using David's behavior to excuse her mean girl behavior, and she can't do that. She can't do that. Because you got to remember, Michelle, your bad behavior came first. Now, I know Madison and David's bad behavior came very, very early on, like he said, at the gym, which I think at the gym is the honeymoon. So he was not long suffering. I give you that, Michelle. But no matter how short or how soon David got with Madison, the fact remains the fact, Michelle. You was crying in the bathroom on the wedding day. Your bad behavior came first. And what Michelle is trying to do is she's trying to completely 100% vindicate herself from this debacle as if she is the complete victim. Like I said in one of my old videos, Michelle, I'm giving you a reduced sentence, but you still got to do jail time, girl. Like, you thinking before you was going away for life, going away to prison for life in the beginning. But once we found out who David really was, I reduced your sentence. I didn't expunge it. I didn't let you out of jail for free with no record. No, girl, I reduced your sentence. And Michelle, what you're fighting for right now is an expungement of your record. We can't expunge it, girl. No, the best I can do for you is give you a reduced sentence. That's it. But the fact that you're over here still fighting for an expungement of your record tells me that you need help too. You need help. And the person who's not going to help you is David. Because let me tell you, David and Madison are in love. When y'all saw them playing that golf as if this was their first date, well, let me say this. This is their first date out in public in the daylight. Because we know all the other dates have happened in the wee hours of the morning after David got off work. So when they say, oh, we've been wanting to do this for a long time, they've been wanting to come out in public for a long time. This is not their first date. All their dates have happened behind closed doors, more than likely in a horizontal position in any other kind of way. And David's not going to be able to help you, Michelle, because David don't give a damn about you no more. He could care less about the way you feel, the way you're reacting. He is just completely over it. And what David was happy about was that David can finally be himself. And who David is a lazy MF. David is a lazy MF in so many different ways. And what I would need to help David with is making him realize that, David, you don't show up in any type of relationship or any type of environment putting in the work that you need to put in for yourself. Every time you ask to hold David accountable for anything, what David does is, the reason this is happening or I'm having this behavior is because of something else someone else did. David never takes any ownership of anything. If you go back to our very beginnings of David has shown laziness for a long time. In fact, when David told us his biggest accomplishment in life at, I don't know how old David is, mid-30s, was that he had paid off his car. That was the first sign that, wow, what do you want for paying off your car at 30-something years old? I mean, it's great, but David acted like he had paid off a whole mortgage. He paid off a car, and when we finally saw his car, he was driving around in a Ford Taurus. So you paid off a $20,000 car, and what do you want? You want an award? You want a SAG award? You want a Grammy for that? Like, when you start to realize what type of admiration, what type of applause David needs for even the smallest of things that he does. He needs constant admiration, constant attention. And he told us over and over again, Madison constantly complimented. Madison chased David. I don't know if y'all don't see it, but Madison chased David. And let me tell you something. Sidebar. When I said last week that Madison chased David, and there's another part of Madison that didn't like Michelle, and I don't know the reason why, you saw it this episode. I said last week that Madison was secretly competing with Michelle, and I don't know why she was, because we didn't see enough of Madison and Michelle's interaction. All we heard was that they talked a lot, but we never saw them together. They never showed us any scenes with them except, all these sessions where they confided in each other. We didn't see a lot of that. But when you saw this episode, especially the clip on the last end where Michelle says, put me in the room with, when Madison says, put me in the ring with Michelle and I'll take her down in 2 minutes. There you go. I told you that Madison is competitive. She likes to win. And the nasty attitude that she has towards Michelle is like, girl, why are you nasty towards Michelle? What did Michelle do to you? Why are you so intent on taking her down, saying, come on, baby girl? What was she calling her during this party? Come on, baby girl. Come on, baby girl. Like I said, Madison is evil. She looked like Dracula's wife. But when I get back to the laziness of David from the very beginning, everything about David is lazy. He only does things unless you give him a whole lot to do what you want him to do. His parents have been coddling him. They gave him a job to run that bar. They let him live on the top of the bar, right? Coddling. Now he's moved to the basement apartment, coddled, not paying any rent. He didn't even have the decency to redecorate the basement apartment. He basically just brought the bar equipment, put it down there. He didn't even decorate it. There's not one decoration down there that even looks like he did anything with that. Lazy. Lazy. He don't even want to put no echo gel on that hair of his. Even in combing his hair, he's lazy. Put some echo gel on that. Some edge control. I don't know what. Some water. Slick it back. Some water and some lotion. Something. Some curl control. I don't know. He don't even want to put it up in a bun. He's so lazy he puts it to the side. Just lazy. His workouts are lazy. He ain't losing no weight. He said he didn't really want on the treadmill. He's lazy. He's lazy the way he dresses. David doesn't give a damn. David was so lazy, even the lie he told us when he sent that fake message to Madison. He was lazy with the lie, talking about I want to eat you up was about food. It was lazy. You didn't even think enough of us to come up with no good lie. You was lazy even in your lying. When people try to call you out, you say, well, I don't care. I don't care if you believe me or not. Lazy. You don't even want to do no extra work to make me believe you, to help me along. Nope. David's like, do the work yourself. I'm not helping you along because I'm lazy. Do it yourself. And this apology to Michelle, lazy. David doesn't do anything with a lot of hard work. That's why it was so easy for him to get with Madison, because once again, he didn't have to do a damn thing. Madison did all the work. And here we are again in this episode where Madison has decided she's going to do all the work to take down Michelle. David tried to tell Madison in this little fight, she's salty. You need to leave it alone, Madison. Madison says, I'm not going to leave it alone. I'm going to take her down. I'm going to take her down. So David don't even want to deal with it because, of course, he's too lazy anyway to do it. And Madison says, that's okay. I'll do it for you. I'll take her down. The experts try to call him out and say, David, you need to learn how to take responsibility for what you do. David don't take responsibility because in David's mind, everyone else needs to do something before he does anything. And in his mind, there's always something more you can do before he needs to do anything else. If you look at David's entire speech, everything he talks about is you can't hold me accountable until you do all these things. That's David's point of view. David doesn't come to a negotiation table and say, you know what? I'm going to hold myself accountable to these things, and then you do these parts, and then together we will get to the middle. No, what David says is, because you didn't give me no words of affirmation, then that's why I went off with Madison. No, that's not how it works. You're right. Michelle needs to be held accountable, but you also need to be held accountable in the marriage as well. But that's not how David thinks. David thinks, because you didn't do this, I can do whatever I want to do. Zero accountability, zero responsibility. David runs around and he doesn't even take ownership for what he does. He says, that's not really me. It is you. When you do things, it's you. Who is it? You think it's another person in your body acting and saying all these things? It is you. David doesn't even want to take responsibility for who he is. That's how lazy David is. David not only doesn't want to take responsibility for what he does, David doesn't even want to take responsibility for who he is. He's lazy. David is going to bring this laziness into the relationship with Madison. And what it's going to allow Madison to do is do whatever the hell she wants to do. Because what's going to happen is David's not going to do anything anyway. You see, and what it's going to do is that's probably why Madison likes their relationship, because Madison actually gets to call all the shots. She gets to do whatever she wants to do, how she wants to, when she wants to do it. And that's the position Madison likes, because Madison also likes to be in the dominant position. She absolutely likes to be in the dominant position. And what David does is David says, I'm not passive, but what I am is I don't want to do a damn thing. You see, so what I'll do is I'll sit back and I'll let you do whatever you want to do. And Madison will be happy because she'll get to do whatever she wants to do, get things the way she wants to have it. Because what David will do is he's not going to do a damn thing. He's just a passenger in relationships. David is a passenger in relationships. And Madison, on the other hand, she's the driver. She is a reckless driver. She is reckless, you see. So Madison definitely drives recklessly out here, like her father told us, get an STD test. Madison is reckless in her behavior. Madison runs over people, okay? Madison loves to run over people. And I guess we're going to see next week how she's going to enjoy the thrill of running over Michelle and leaving Michelle's body in the streets. She's relishing it. She's getting excited about it. Put me in the ring with her. I'm ready to take her out. Because let me tell you something, Madison was in competition with Michelle this entire show. And what Madison has been waiting for is the moment where she could really, really fight Michelle. Madison never liked Michelle from the beginning. Think about it. If Madison really, really cared for David the way she does, we know she cares for him. That means all this time, Madison, you was faking your relationship with Michelle. Because how can you be liking David this much, in love with David this much, but then listening to Michelle bitch and complain about David? That tells me that you also built up a huge distaste for Michelle, because if you're listening to one person talk about a person you really like, Madison, what you had to do is you had to pretend you didn't care about Michelle talking about David, but you cared. You had to have cared because you cared about David. And that means all those conversations, you were secretly not liking Michelle. And so now that the truth is out, what you can come out now, Madison, is your real contempt for Michelle. And now when you're saying, yeah, put me in the ring with her. I never liked that B. I haven't liked her from the beginning. I was just faking that I liked her so that no one would figure out that me and David were together. Madison don't like Michelle, never have, never has. She didn't like her from the very beginning. And Michelle, the reason why she got so hurt is because she really believed that this girl Madison liked her. That's what she believed. Like I told you, Michelle has a bad first impression with people. She doesn't make good first impressions. She doesn't make friends easily. And when Madison was pretending to be her friend, Michelle got tricked into thinking, wow, normally I don't connect with people very soon, very fast. But with Madison, I connected with her very soon, very fast. I was able to feel vulnerable with her and tell her things that I couldn't tell the other ladies because I didn't connect with them as fast. But what Michelle didn't realize is Madison didn't like you either. See, Michelle, when I've been telling you why you need help, no one likes you in the beginning. No one. And even the person you thought liked you, which was Madison, she was only pretending to like you. Who she liked was your man. And now that it's all out in the open, she gonna treat you like she treats everybody else. She gonna run over you. She gonna run over you. Madison never liked Michelle. She actually disliked Michelle. She faked it. She faked the funk to the very, very end. I take it back. I said I would talk to Madison. I'd help Madison. No, don't call me. I can't deal with none of this deep-rooted evilness like this. I'm like Carla. I don't need that type of energy around me. So I'm revoking my offer for counseling sessions for Madison. I revoke it. I take it back. It's not on the table for you. You and EKG can go pump rocks. Go pump rocks. Go pump some iron. I don't care. Don't call me. Don't call me. But anyway, that's all I got, y'all. That's all I got for this episode. I will see y'all after my vacation. Take care. Bye.